Welcome to the Explainer. When you think of a zoo, you probably think of a fun day out, right? But what if I told you the real work, the most important stuff, happens long after the last visitor goes home? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the secret life of the modern zoo. It's a high-tech world of science, advanced medicine, and frankly, one of the last lines of defense for the planet's wildlife.
So here's our game plan for this explainer. We'll start by going beyond the enclosure. Then we'll dig into the modern mission that drives everything they do. We're going to see how they engineer animal homes, cook up a scientific menu, and provide some seriously complex healthcare. And finally, we'll tie it all together with the conservation connection, which is really about the fight for survival itself.
Okay, so most of us, we only see the public side of a zoo. But what's really going on behind all those staff-only signs? Well, that's where the story really gets interesting. Look, a day at the zoo is a fantastic way to connect with nature, no doubt about it. But its true purpose? That goes way, way beyond just entertainment. Behind the scenes, it's a non-stop operation built on meticulous scientific planning and a deep commitment to animal survival. To really get that purpose, we kind of have to look back at how much zoos have changed. Believe me, they started out as something totally different from the scientific institutions we know today. This timeline just shows what an incredible transformation it's been. I mean, think about it. We start with Egyptian pharaohs and Chinese emperors keeping animals basically as status symbols, a show of power. It wasn't until a few hundred years ago that this idea of a scientific, educational zoo even began to take shape. And now, the focus has shifted almost completely to a much, much higher calling: conservation. So, the modern zoo really stands on these 5 pillars. At the heart of it, you've got conservation, education, and research. Recreation is still a huge part, of course. That's what helps fund the whole mission. But crucially, they're also rescue centers, acting as a safe haven for injured wildlife.
So that's the big mission. But what does it actually look like day to day? Well, it all starts with engineering the animals' homes. And as you're about to see, these are so much more than just a cage. Designing an animal's home is a really complex science. It's a constant balancing act. You're trying to give the animal a natural habitat while also making sure it's completely safe for staff and visitors. It's not just about space, it's about mental stimulation, what the keepers call enrichment, things like puzzle feeders or special climbing structures that keep an animal's brain active and engaged.
And safety is absolutely non-negotiable. Every last detail is planned out, from how high the barriers are to the strict quarantine procedures for any new animal that arrives. And this isn't just about preventing escapes. It's about stopping the spread of disease and making sure every single animal and person at that zoo is safe.
Just like their habitats, what zoo animals eat is anything but simple. You can't just, toss a steak to a lion and call it a day. Exactly. You should really think of the zoo's kitchen as more of a science lab. Every meal is a part of a carefully designed health plan. The nutrition is customized not just for the species, but for each individual animal, based on its age, its health, its specific needs. Now, this is where it gets really clever. See that last point about enrichment? They use feeding for more than just nutrition. Hiding food or using special puzzle feeders actually mimics the challenges an animal would face in the wild. It keeps those natural hunting and foraging instincts sharp. It's brilliant. Now let's get into the incredible lengths zoos go to keep their residents healthy. This is where veterinary science gets pushed to its limits, dealing with the unique challenges of wild animals. Seriously, think about this for a second. How do you give a tiger a dental exam? You can't just ask it to open wide. This is where highly specialized techniques come in. For smaller animals, vets might use physical restraints. But for a powerful predator, it's all about chemical restraint. Things like tranquilizer darts, all designed to minimize stress for the animal and keep the vet team safe. And what about when you need to move an animal for a critical breeding program? Well, it's a massive logistical operation planned with military-like precision. As you can see, from the health checks before the trip to the quarantine after, every single step is managed to make the journey as safe and stress-free as possible. So we've seen all this meticulous, expensive, and difficult work. But why? Why does it matter so much? This is where we connect all the dots and get to the very heart of the modern zoo, the global fight against extinction. So conservation basically happens in 2 main ways. You've got in situ, which is protecting animals in the wild, but when a species' habitat is disappearing or they're being hunted to the brink, ex situ conservation becomes their last hope. And that is exactly where zoos come in. They act as a critical safety net. So let's be crystal clear about the stakes here. Endangered isn't just some abstract label. It means a species is on the absolute edge. One bad season, one new threat away from being wiped off the face of the earth forever.
And this is where modern zoos become true genetic arcs. For animals like the giant panda, captive breeding is pretty much all that's standing between them and extinction. And you know what? Sometimes it works spectacularly. The Arabian oryx was once declared extinct in the wild. It was brought back from the brink entirely through a zoo-led breeding program.
Take a look at this number. Fewer than 100. That's a recent estimate for how many Royal Bengal tigers are left in a key habitat. When a wild population gets that dangerously low, every single animal in a breeding program becomes absolutely critical to the survival of the entire species. This quote just says it all, doesn't it? The shift is complete. Zoos have gone from being these collections of curiosities to becoming modern-day arks, built to save species from the rising tide of extinction.
So the real question becomes, what's our role in all this? The next time you visit a zoo, try to look past the enclosure. See the research station. See the animal hospital. See the last hope for an entire species. Because your visit isn't just a day out. It's you, directly funding a mission that reaches across the globe, fighting for the future of wildlife.